Hey, Dan here, and in this video I want to go through a really big mistake I see people making online all the time. And if you're watching this and you're a bit of an old timer, you're an old businessman or businesswoman who's just looking at the online way of working and maybe how it could be different, then this video might be particularly valuable for you because the way business is done now via the internet has had huge changes on how you need to position your business and basically how you need to operate. Now with this, I do not mean technology and I do not mean the fundamentals. Personally, I think the fundamentals of business have not changed, and I'm actually quite an old school guy in terms of how I teach my courses and my views on marketing and business. But one of the things that has changed, and yes, this also applies to dating, all you kids out there on Tinder and you old timers on Tinder, you shouldn't be on Tinder. It's just for, millennials and whatever the next people are. But it also applies in all areas of life. Is there so much change now? Did I say change? I meant opportunity and choice. That is what I meant. Change is inevitable. There is so much opportunities and so much choice now, right? So before, you might be looking at dating someone and you'd have 1,000 choices maybe in your town, 3 choices maybe in your town, depending on how big it was. And business was the same way, right? So if someone needed a marketing consultant, they would ask around their town and say, hey, Bob, a marketing consultant? And Bob would be like, I know this Dan fella just down the road there, and he can do some good old writing for you and your business. I'd be like, oh, okay, I'll give Dan a call. And Dan could be one of the crummiest marketing consultants in the world. But guess what? Dan got a call because we lived in a little small town. Now, this still applies to some kinds of businesses. If you are the only plumber in a 2,000 person town, then first, good on you for watching my videos. And secondly, you don't need to necessarily worry about this. But the thing is most of us are not competing in this small environment. Whether you're in a city of 5 million people, 2 million people, and you have a local business, or you're working online, you're competing with the world. So the way business used to work is if you were in a more direct selling model. So by direct selling, I mean things like door-to-door or cold calling. I don't know about you, but I had to pay my way a bit through school, and at some point that involved doing a bit of door-to-door selling, and that was not the most fun experience. But it was positive in learning kind of how it works in terms of that selling, right? So traditionally, think of someone selling vacuum cleaners door to door, right? You get a knock on your door, you open the door, and it's some guy there with a vacuum. It's like, hey, you want to buy this vacuum? Now at that point, you are not thinking about all the other vacuum options, right? This guy comes in, he gives you the whole pitch, like, oh, see, there's things on the floor. Now there's nothing on the floor. Now you're not going and hopping on Google and checking the 30 alternative, nor are you sitting down. Well, you're like, actually, sir, there's 5 other vacuum salespeople in my living room. Why don't you all fight it out for my business? No, probably you weren't even looking for a vacuum. But now that you're sitting down with the salesperson, you have a choice to make. Do I buy the vacuum or not buy the vacuum? And these are your 2 choices. And so from the point of view of the vacuum salesman, and this was my own experience doing door-to-door sales as well, which I've done as a job and also for my own business, believe it or not, is that if you knock on enough doors, you will get a yes. Even if your offer isn't very good, it's a numbers game. So if you knock on 20 doors, let's say, 1 in 20 people will say, yeah, I'll buy that. That sounds good. Because they're not comparing you to anything, and there's just this one-on-one decision-making happening, right? And so there's a saying in sales of it's a numbers game, right? Put in your numbers. Call 100 people, you'll get a sale. Knock on 20 doors, you'll get a sale. Here's where it really changes online. Now this applies especially if you're applying for jobs on a website like Upwork or these job posting sites, which I don't really recommend as a sustainable way to build a business, but that's a whole nother conversation. But it really applies anytime you're doing business online is you better believe that before someone hires you, they're checking out their other options. It is now so easy to hop on Google and get other quotes, compare people, check reviews, all this stuff. And everyone is doing that, especially if you're not sitting down face to face with someone or having kind of a live meeting, right? So most people are going to be checking out the other options. Now, here's why this is important, is before, if you talk to 20 people going, say, door-to-door sales, none of those people were necessarily looking for what you offered. And so if you talk to 20, you ended up with maybe, like, let's say 1 sale, right? Now you're going to someone and that person is probably doing their research or soliciting other proposals, right? So they might be talking, this might be a little extreme, but let's assume they're talking to 20 people. So now it's you and 19 other people competing for this one person. Now, why that's really important is at this point, you need to be the 1 in 20. So if you are not the best of those 20, you're not getting hired. So say you're pretty good. You're the top 20% of people at what you do. Your proposals, pretty good. Your sales technique, pretty good. Your actual skill at what you offer, pretty good. In general, that would have been enough. 30 years ago, you live in a little town. Hey, let me call Dan. He's your guy, right? You didn't have to be one of the best. But guess what? In the internet world, you need to stand out as one of the best if you want to actually get hired, because the person choosing whether or not to hire you or buy your product, they have a lot of choice. And because it's not as personal, because they're not talking to you face to face and faced with rejection, why would they not shop around? And why would they not pick the best fit, right? If you're just a stranger they're talking to online, then they're going to go with whoever is best for them, right? There's none of the social pressure that could come up in traditional selling. Now, yes, this is one reason in my other content you will find, I talk a lot about the personal side. There's a video I put out called The Human Element of a Digital Nomad Business. Check that out. I talk about how important it is to establish a human connection, and that helps you get around this a little bit. But ultimately, you still need to be the best option. Now, what if you're saying, Dan, come on, I'm good, I work hard, but how can I be the best? If you're saying there's thousands of choices out there, how can I be the best of thousands of people? Well, get up every day at 5 a.m. and I want you to, no, you don't have to be the best in all ways, right? Here's the cool thing about it. Well, there are thousands of other people potentially competing with you. There are also millions of potential clients and consumers. And what that means is you don't have to be the best to everyone. You just have to be the best for your audience. And this is where being more of yourself, working your personality in, focusing on a niche can really come into play, right? Because you can be the best for that group. So when you look to specialize, you can be the best for that specific group you're talking to. Here's also how you can do it without actually having to be the best overall. Is just write the best proposal. And no, this is not a pitch for my training on writing a proposal. I don't offer it right now. But what it is really if you spend the most time and you write an incredible proposal, then for all intents and purposes, you are the best. I've hired quite a few people through sites like Upwork. And one of the things that happens right away is I might get 20 applications for a job, but 15 of them are garbage. Like they're copy and pasted, they're template, and right away they get archived, right? So really it comes down to those last 5 people. So assuming you're not a moron sending out just mass templates to everyone, let's put you in that top 25%. So now you're in consideration because you've written me something personal. So you're really only competing with those 4 other people. So if you can spend a little more time on your proposal, you can be a little more persuasive with your writing, a little more engaged with me, maybe understanding what I'm looking for, then your proposal can be the best. Even if you don't have the most experience, or you are more expensive, or you don't have whatever it is that would make you objectively the best, your proposal can be the best, and that's how you can also stand out and be hired. Now, I covered a few solutions to this here, but I want to be clear, this is not a problem that you solve. This is just a way of thinking about business and a realization you need to have. And yes, it affects how you do business. And it should affect how you do business in many ways, but it is not something with a quick fix. It's based on, I would say, taking a long-term and a quality approach, because this is going to show up everywhere. I've talked about it in terms of proposals and getting clients, but it also is going to come up with things like Google. So if you want to rank on the first page of Google, you're now competing with the world. If you're doing business in English, you're competing with the whole world in many cases. So you need to be the best of the best and really stand out. And when it comes to something like competing for rankings on a website like Google or YouTube, what often happens then is it's about long keywords. It's called long tail keywords. So you get into really specific topics. And so let's say you're becoming a freelance copywriter. You're probably not going to show up on the first page of Google when someone looks for freelance copywriter. But maybe you could show up on the first page when someone searches for freelance copywriter specializing in baby market or something like that, or freelance copywriter with local knowledge of London, things like that, right? And then gradually over time, who knows, maybe you do become the #1 ranked freelance copywriter on all of Google. So I hope that makes sense and hope this is helpful in terms of a way of thinking. The main takeaway I want you to have here is to focus on quality and quality over quantity, and not worrying about spending too much time on specifics. So don't think, oh, I got to send 50 proposals today. Think, I'm going to send 3 proposals and they're going to be amazing and I'm going to get those 3 clients. Because you can send 50 proposals, and if they're all a copy paste garbage template, I guarantee, almost guarantee, maybe there's an exception, but I almost guarantee you that you're not going to get any business. So this feeling of, oh, I got to do so much, I got to send so many proposals, write so many articles, if they're all garbage, it's not going to help you at all. So you're much better off focusing on doing less and doing it really well. So don't hammer out quantity. Don't send out tons of proposals, try to put up tons of articles. Focus on doing something really well, something specific. Whether it's one proposal or one article on a really specific topic or whatever that is, do it really well, and then you can stand out and be the best in that moment. And then over time, you can become the best, quote unquote, in more and more things. And that's going to allow you to really take advantage of this new business environment where you have to be the 1 in 20 that stands out, rather than the way it used to be in many ways. It's just knocking on enough doors, calling enough people, and 1 in 20 of them would end up saying yes. So if you have enjoyed this video and you want more ways to be the best, then I would encourage you to subscribe. Click this lady's face here. There'll be my face around there. You can click that and catch more of our videos. I put out new videos Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.